Hey everyone, Rich Munroe here with BNB Investing Group. Thanks for jumping on this week. Just as a reminder, BNB Investing Group helps investors navigate the short-term rental model, whether you're managing properties, doing acquisitions, or also doing the rental arbitrage strategy. So we kind of help out with walking through different folks that have had experience with different niches and kind of walk through their story, how they got started, and kind of help you guys navigate the lot of different options that are out here in the short-term rental space. And so I'm actually pretty excited to have a good friend of mine on today. It's been long overdue to have her join us. So Rashmi, thank you so much for jumping on this week. And maybe we'll get started with a little bit of just kind of how you got started with short-term rentals.
Thank you so much for having me on here, Rich. Always good to chat with you. So I got started in real estate in 2020, but I've always been in the hospitality space. I started my restaurant in 2014, right outside of college. I used to have a sandwich shop back then. Grew that into a wholesale company, and then I opened an Indian restaurant. COVID hit, my restaurant took a little bit of a hit. We were off, and I had never had that much free time in my life. And found out about Airbnbs, and I was like, I think I could do this. So my parents bought their first Airbnb. I was like, you guys should buy this. It'll be so easy to rehab. Well, that rehab took us like over 8 months, way over budget. And at the same time, I looped in like another couple of friends to buy another 2 unit. So we launched 3 units within like a month of each other. And
Very cool.
we were so into it. And then we just kind of grew the portfolio from there. And then last year, we started managing a couple of hotels as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So when you kind of just hit the ground running and got started with multiple units at the same time, were you already doing real estate before this besides your restaurant business? No? So
No,
you
we
just
just
kind of
kind of
jumped
went
in?
with it. Yeah, we had been looking at real estate like 2019, 2020, and we were just looking
Hmm.
at long-term rentals back then. And we were
Hmm.
like, okay, if we bought like two of these, we would make $200, and we're putting in, 50K, 100K down payments to make $200. I was like, the math doesn't work on this. How does it work for everybody else? Like, we couldn't figure it out. And
Hmm.
so when we went into Airbnb and we saw the cash flow, we were like, okay, this could work. And interest
Yeah.
rates were so low, like we're talking 2, 3, 4%. We just jumped on it.
Nice. Nice. No, yeah, your timing was definitely in the right place for sure. And so how many bedrooms was the first one you did?
So the first one we did was actually just a 3-2, but we ended up converting it into a 4-4 and added. So we renovated the whole garage to add a game room, bathrooms. We added 2 bathrooms, and I thought it would be like so easy. I was like, what could possibly go wrong when you're renovating a property? Well, everything that could go wrong, of course, went wrong.
Yeah, that's normal. I've done
Yeah,
many rehabs, and there's always something that you never expect that comes up, unfortunately. So
exactly.
yeah. So when you got that first one set up, what was the monthly debt on it compared to how much revenue you were making?
So it was a cheap one. We bought it for I think in the 300 range.
Hmm.
And then like our monthly mortgage on it was less than like 1,500 because we got a 2% interest rate. So even today, it's like one of our best deals to date. And then we went into rehab. We got it like I think even if I just get like 2 days booked a month, I'm like able to pay my mortgage and my
That's
fixed cost
awesome.
on that deal. Yeah.
So you were spoiled with that first one because they're not all going to be like that.
I will say it's gotten a lot harder to buy the real estate now.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you just dove right in and set the property up, staged it, got your listing pictures, and just you're off to the races, right?
Yeah, and I think what I did correct on that one, which maybe I missed a little bit, and I learned from my restaurant, is I just heard a ton of podcasts. So I for my restaurant, we make sandwiches and we deliver them to like Austin or San Antonio. I live in Texas, And so I would have these 4-hour commutes, like, 2 and 4, where I was delivering sandwiches and all this time. So I would listen back to back to every real estate podcast I can get my hands on. So, back then it was like Bigger Pockets was huge. I was listening to the Thanks for Visiting Girls, and I just kept listening to all of this content. And I was like, okay, like I've got to hire an interior designer. I've got to make sure my property is unique. I've got to use price maps for my pricing. Like I just picked up so much free information. And I was like I bought a log cabin in an area that doesn't have a log cabin. So it was just unique. So I looked for these kinds of unique traits. And I think learning from that as I was rehabbing made like all the difference.
Cool. What part of Texas was that in?
It's in Fredericksburg.
Fredericksburg. And is that where most of your properties are now?
No, we're actually in 3 different states now. So here's the reason we bought in Fredericksburg. Back then I used to live in New Braunfels. And with a restaurant, I was pretty busy. Like I was pulling in 50, 60 hours a week easy just at my restaurant. And I wanted to make sure the Airbnb didn't end up becoming a second job for me. Because it's very easy to be like, let me just go fix that light bulb, or let me just like fix all of this. So I bought a property that was like 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours away from me. So I was like, worst case scenario, like I have to go out there and fix it. But like, just need to learn how to manage them from afar. So I started doing that. And then, so we did 3 properties out there. And then after that, I told my husband, I was like, we're ready to invest out of state now. So since then, we've just invested out of state. So we're in Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and we have a few in Texas.
Very cool. Yeah, that's a hard discipline to gain. And it really does take that in the beginning to, even though that first or few units is like 10, 15, 20 minutes away, when you get that message from the guest and they checked in, the AC is not working or something's wrong, your immediate knee-jerk reaction is to run over there, especially in the beginning. You want to get those good reviews, right? Yep. But if you force yourself to act as though you're on Mars or you're 10 hours away, and you do that in the beginning habitually, it'll set you up nicely to be comfortable doing it remotely like that. We did the same thing a few years back with properties in Tampa. It's like an 8-hour drive from Atlanta. And, we had, at the time, we probably had maybe 30, 35 properties here in the Atlanta metro area that were all within an hour of where we lived. But we on purpose delegated a lot of that stuff and set up similar teams in place when we branched out to Tampa. We had about 22 single family homes that we did down there. And I tell you, if you don't do that in the beginning from the start, you're going to be, racking your brain trying to manage something remotely. So it's good that you've done that from the beginning, because now you can basically throw a dart anywhere, right? And be able to activate.
Yeah, it's hard. I think I had 2 things going for me. Number one, I just don't know how to fix anything, even at my own house. Like if a toilet's leaking, like I have no idea. Like I'm Indian. Like, we don't learn these things like growing up. We're taught like education's valuable, go to school. Like that's just how I was raised. And so even today, like I needed like a whiteboard hung up, and I was like looking up handyman because I'm like, I don't know how to hang this up. Like, and I could I could watch a YouTube video and try to do it, but like, is that really worth it? Like, especially if it falls down. Like, so I paid someone to like come hang that up for me, and so that was a very easy like kind of discipline to be like, okay, like we've got to do that.
You got to delegate everything. Yeah.
Yeah. The second part of it is I had a restaurant, and it took me 8 years to get out of the day-to-day on my restaurant because I started it with just like my mom and I. We were working in it day in, day out. We were the only employees, and then we kind of grew that. And I was like, I know when you start something with yourself fully in it, it's really hard. Like it took me 8 years to get out of it. And for now, it runs without me. But I was like, I can't do that with real estate. Like I can't wait another 8 years to get out of the day-to-day. So I was like, we just have to build this. I can't be there. So like I have to figure it out.
So what attracted you to these other markets? Did you have like a formula or a model that you go after, a certain cost basis? What's your strategy with that?
So we wanted to be diversified. That was like big for us. Especially if there's like a storm or, something freezes over and properties are affected, we don't want them to be all in one area. So that was really big for us. Usually we like to invest in kind of red states. I'm very big on investing in vacation markets. So I don't typically invest in any urban markets. I'm not a downtown LA, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
I like to stay honestly under the 500K price point. I buy kind of the cheaper side of rentals. I'm a buy and hold investor. Our plan's not to sell any of these for a really long time.
Hmm.
And I learned from my first one not to do a rehab. So I just bought a
Yeah.
hotel a few months ago, and actually have my partners handling all of the rehab. And I think just along the way, I learned like I'm very good at day-to-day management, but like
Hmm.
rehab is not my skill, and like
Hmm.
just to stay out of the way because like it's not what I do well, and like I focus on
Yeah.
what I do very good, and everything else I really try to focus and hone and find people that can help me do other things.
Love
Um,
it. Love it.
yeah, so I have another business with Scriven where I help out as a fractional CEO. He has his own portfolio of short-term rentals he manages, and he's great at sales. I'm great at ops, and I think when you
Hmm.
kind of blend that together and you're like, this is my lane,
Hmm.
you just get to have so much fun.
Nice. Nice. So you mentioned the hotel. So how did you get in the beginning moving from single family to hotels? What caused that to happen? How did that come to
So
be?
I'm in a mastermind group, and we had like an in-person like meetup, and these guys were talking about. He's like, "Hey, my friend has a 6 unit out in the coast of Texas. He's really struggling. He doesn't know how to operate it. Can you help?" And I was like, "I think so. I mean, like, how hard could it possibly be?" And I was like, "I'm willing to learn because I'd been wanting to get into hotels for like 6 months, and I couldn't like find a way in."
Hmm.
I've been looking at deals left, right, upside down, and like none of the deals I was looking at were working. And so I picked that one up, and then I went to a conference, and I just happened to mention to someone that like, hey, like I'm helping this hotel. We got them from like 0 to like 90% occupancy. Here's what we did, and they were like, oh, you manage hotels, and I was like, I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, I have one. And they were like, well, I have two. Could you help me? And I was like, sure. So we put those up. And then that ended up getting us two more deals. And then my goal with the hotel management was just to find partners who could help me buy my hotel. And one of those partners approached me. They were like, hey, anytime you have a deal, like send it to me. So when I found a deal that I kind of liked, but I wasn't sure, I was like, hey, here's what I think. And they were like, this is an awesome deal. Let's just go in and buy it together.
Very
And that
cool.
got me kind of into the hotels.
And so are you kind of layering in a different mindset? I've always struggled with, I mean, obviously Airbnb is the whole home sharing concept, and people like Airbnb for certain reasons. They dislike it for other reasons too, but it's so much different from the hotel experience for all the things that we know about. So how do you kind of adopt the short-term rental mentality with the hotel business? And essentially, I guess you're kind of converting these into boutique hotels, right?
Yeah. So it is very different. You're absolutely right. The biggest difference I found is the phone rings all the time. Like people will call you for anything and everything, which is like just not what happens in like the Airbnb world. Um, we'll have days where like in the morning I'll check the calendar and it's literally like 0% for tonight book. Like we have all rooms that are empty, and I check at 4 p.m. and we're at 60% occupancy. Like it is wild. And
Yeah.
you're like, how is this happening? What I really like about the hotels is I think there's just a lot of room for technology and like the level of hosting we provide on short-term rentals to be just transferred over to hotels. So again, the hotels we manage are regional little deals. These guys have had them for 30 years. They haven't put any money into it. So when we get them, they're like roadside, dirty, and we go in and do a full top to bottom rehab, putting a new life into this. And I don't know about you, Rich, but like I don't like going to a hotel and like waiting at the front desk. Like I'm like, there
Right.
has got to be a better way to like live in general.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we put in the automatic door locks, you sign your rental agreement online. We usually have a manager that's 10-minute driving distance. So like if you need something, like we have people, but if not, most people are happy to like go to like the game room and grab towels.
Yeah.
People want to be left alone for the most part.
Yeah.
And just rewriting the rules of hospitality, I think, is big. Now, I think there's a huge market to have on-site team members if you have like a boutique hotel that has like a restaurant and bar and you're doing that whole. For us, a
Right.
lot of it is we're like catering to the transient traveler. They're there for a couple of days. They want to be left alone. They want a nice, clean room. And a bunch of our areas are in these kind of seasonal markets. And so in like the winter, right, a lot of these hotels are closed. Well, we can be open because we don't have any staff, right? Like, and so we're open and guests love us because they're like, oh, like we have a great place to stay. Because there are people like there's construction workers and traveling nurses. Like there's a whole sector of people I think that don't get catered to. And I think people like the one-off experience. Like no, like I personally don't love staying at like a Marriott or a Hilton every time I'm somewhere. Like I want to support local businesses. And then we build great relationships with like the Chamber of Commerce. We're very active. We'll do fun things like host yoga night, and we'll let them use our parking lot to do things. And so really being part of the community and pushing that needle forward and getting rid, like we've called the cops when we've thought something is not above board. And I think the community really likes that, hey, like we're holding ourselves accountable to a higher standard.
Got it. And so what are your marketing efforts like? Are you strictly on different OTA platforms? Are you getting walk-in traffic, or is there a combination?
Yeah, so we do get walk-in traffic, and we do have to tell them, hey, we're cashless, so you have to reserve online. I think we lose out on a little bit on business on that, but it's so minor and it's worth it. So mostly we're on OTAs. We are testing out social media. It's not been great so far. I don't know if that's the avenue most people take. I know when I go to book a hotel, I just look on like what's on Booking.com, pull up the hotel's name, and then find the direct booking website and book it. That's how I personally do it. And so we just made sure we had a great website. It converts well. And we're just on OTAs. We are looking to start like newsletter marketing, doing kind of more ground level efforts. But so far we've been booked with all of the OTAs, and a lot of people, like we run close to 60 to 70% direct book, just because we have a good, like, and I think it's very typical for hotels to run that high on direct book. But that comes up with its own set of issues because you get way more chargebacks. So then we've had to tighten up a lot of our processes there.
So are you tapping into like the hotels.com, Expedia, Booking.com, kind of more so those than Airbnb? Are you also on Airbnb as well, or?
Yeah, we're on Airbnb, we're on Vrbo, and we literally just say like, hey, we're a hotel room. Some of our units have fully built-in kitchens. So those are like perfect to be like, and then, we have unique properties. So some of our hotels have, like they have hotel rooms, but they also have like, 5 cabins on them. And so like we'll put the whole inventory on everything. Like anything that will list us, we're there, I think, at this point.
Got it.
And so we've had to get really good at Booking.com because, like, again, it's not that big on short-term rentals, but it is very big on the hotel side.
So are you doing anything strategic on the remodels? I've visited a hotel in Jacksonville Beach last year. I was actually on my way down to a conference in Miami, a short-term rental conference, and it was a hotel that was originally built like in the 40s and 50s, 2 stories, probably around 30 units, and the owner got involved with a management company similar to yours that does short-term rentals, and they came in and basically cut holes in the floor and basically combined 2 separate units into an upstairs and a downstairs with like a spiral stairs. And then you could basically have a larger master suite on one level, then another level, living room and a kitchen. So have you done any things like that, or are you just basically focusing on remodeling and updating what's currently there?
Yeah, more of the second level, updating and, getting a cleaner model. I will say it all depends on the property. So like anytime we look at a new deal, we're like, okay, like what does the market need? What do we think the market needs is a better question. But yeah, like even on our newest remodel on the hotel we just bought a few months ago, we are going in on that one, putting in more amenities. We're trying to put hot tubs in 6 of the units because it has this insane view of the mountains. And I'm like, guests would love it if they had like their hotel room had like a private hot tub. And so, or like it's a big biking community, so having like space for biking and putting motorbikes, you can park your bike comfortably or easily. It's in it's skiing's popular in that area, so we were like, should we have heated floors? Like that was a discussion. I think we ended up saying no, but just like thinking through. One of the mistakes one of my other owners made is they only put in queen beds. And I was like, no, like we got to have a few king beds. We got to have a few queens, making sure the 2 queen beds are targeted towards like parents and kids, so like families, whereas the king ones are targeted more towards couples.
That makes sense. And so this recent acquisition, how many units was it and where is it again?
Yeah, so it's in North Carolina. It's near Asheville, and it's an 18 unit. Yeah, except we found like 2 extra doors, so it might be 20. So we're still getting through.
That's a good thing to find. Add 2 more doors to the mix.
Yeah.
So for those of us that have been more familiar with single family acquisitions, walk us through that transaction. How does that come to be? How did you find it? How are you financing it? Just kind of give us some high level, if you don't mind, on insight to that.
So I am a very lazy investor. I found every single deal I've bought has been listed on the market. Like it was on Zillow. I know everyone else does this fancy stuff like wholesaling and all of that. That's awesome. I just don't know anything about it. And like I said, like finding properties is fine, but like financing rehab is like not my area of specialty. I'm so much more on day-to-day management. So I just look at what's on the market and I'm like, oh, like this looks, so this deal came on the market. It's funny. It came on the market a week before I was set to fly out on my 3-week Europe trip. So it drops on the market. And I sent it to my partners just as like a random thought. I was like, hey, this deal seems to have potential. And I have a pretty high target for like what I consider a deal I'll even look at. Usually it takes me about 10 seconds to figure out if a deal is going to work or not. Usually 99.99% of the times, most deals don't work for me. I'm a very conservative investor. And so I want like minimum 20% cash on cash. Like, is the revenue going to be good? How much rehab? Like ideally minimal rehab, like all that kind of stuff. Right. So mostly I never find anything, which is fine. Like I'm very comfortable with that. Even if I make 1 or 2 acquisitions every year, I'm good. I also am very patient. So November of 21, I bought my property and I didn't buy any other properties until October of 23. It took me like 2 years to find anything. Wow. And I'm okay just like chilling on the sidelines still then. Like I'm this is not like I'm not like I gotta buy something. Like I'm like, if the opportunity is right, I'm gonna find a good product and then we'll go in. If not, let's just breathe. So I sent it to him when my partner just like booked tickets, flew out to see it, and I'm literally boarding the plane to go to London. And he's like, hey, I put the deal under contract. And
nice.
I was like, right? And he's like, I liked it. Like we just went for it. And so we did private money on that one. We're going to rehab it, and then we're probably going to refi out of the whole deal. And then both of us are pretty clear that it's a buy and hold investment for us. We want to leave it for our kids. So we're making sure the rehab, we're not cutting corners. Like we want this to last another, solid 30 to 50 years. And so it's not like we're going to, flip it to a retail investor in 2 years or something like that.
Got it. Very cool. And so strategically, tell us a little bit about your operation, right? You got a lot of different states that you're in. Your lane is hospitality and operations. So how is that set up? Is it a team of folks? Is it just you? Is it a couple of people? What does that look like?
So every property has like an on-site team. So cleaners, handyman, whatever you name it. And then we have 5 people in our virtual office. They handle all kind of day-to-day guest comms. They handle, we have 24/7 coverage. You call us at 2 a.m. There's going to be someone to pick up the phone. And then there's kind of me that goes in and basically messes everything up. Where I'm and I'm sure you feel the same way, Rich. I feel like anytime I step in, people are like, get out of the way. And I kind of do, I actually spend a lot of my time reading and seeing what's happening in the market and going like, how can we improve our business, right? So hospitality-wise, how can I provide my guests with a better experience? How can I make sure my listing looks really good? Like fall is coming up in a lot of our markets. So I have a graphic designer on my team and I had her just design some really fun graphics that are like, hey, like fall is coming. And we're having a fall sale right now. And I think being the kind of host that's on top, and that's like such an easy thing to do, but just being like, I care enough about my guests and it's not a listing that's just been here for, 4 years.
Right.
and going in and making it fun. I think people really appreciate that. We try to do some kind of upgrades into each of the homes every year or so, whether it's adding in nicer amenities, whether it's just making sure we're updating. Like we have games or game rooms in most of our properties. So things like the pool table always seems to have, missing pool sticks and ping pong. Just little things like that.
Right. You have to kind of refresh it.
Yeah, exactly. And then day to day, we're on top of our cleaning, right? So if our cleaner's like, hey, I'm missing toilet paper, we order that right away. So they have it in like a day or 2 days. If a guest is like, hey, I'm missing a can opener, cool. We have Walmart Plus, get it delivered to them. It's free delivery. Let's make things right. AC's out. Hey, like, let us get someone out there as soon as possible to take care of it. Little things and just consistently being on top of it and making sure our listing is relevant. Like, I think it's gotten tougher and tougher with Airbnb. So making sure my listing is relevant, staying on top of search engines. I tend to stay towards the higher guest count. So, 12, 14, 16 people is my typical what I buy. Except last year I bought a studio cabin in Arkansas, just like on a whim. And I bought it and it took me forever to rehab it because, like I said, I shouldn't have touched it, but I couldn't help myself. And I did. I was very much over budget on that one, but that one's been booking out splendidly. It's my first experience with like a studio. So it's for like barely 2 or 4 people. It's a super cute cabin, and it's been crushing it. We launched it 2 or 3 months ago. And we're running at like 95% occupancy. And I know most people are like, at that point, if I'm an investor, I'm like, raise the rates. But I'm pretty happy with the rates, and it's still booking out. And I'm like, let's go.
Well, very cool. Let's take a quick look at one of your properties.
Yeah, this is my first one that I rehabbed. It's been a while.
So this one has been up and running for how long?
Since 2021. It's about 3-4 years.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
so
you've got your game room.
Yeah, that used to be the garage.
Nice.
Yeah, and this was a heck of a deal. We put in the offer. There were 6 other offers with it, and I heard on some podcasts you're supposed to give like the seller 24 hours or your offer's invalid. Knowing nothing about real estate, I put that in the contract, and we didn't hear back for like 4 days. And I was like, oh my god, like, do you think I offended them? And come to find out, the seller had a heart attack over the weekend, and
wow.
he was like in the hospital. And like they just took like the highest offer, which was like our offer, and like our offer was just like asking price. And then they literally took like 1 pillow and 1 TV with them. Like they left everything abandoned, and so we had to go and clean everything. Yeah, we redid everything on the property. But yeah, so it was fun. So this is a log cabin. Log cabins aren't a super popular thing in Fredericksburg. So we're unique in that aspect. And then this is on 2 acres in the woods, and it's about 10 minutes from downtown. So like perfect for like those bigger groups. We host a ton of bachelorette parties, people who just want to get away. A ton of kind of family groups. Like if you have 2 or 3 families, they'll come hang out. And do that. And then I think the decor, we used a local interior designer who did a fantastic job. And then while I was
awesome.
I actually met with a ton of investors in the area, just to kind of learn like what worked for you, what didn't work for you. And I'm a coffee snob, so at every one of my properties, I put in an espresso maker. Because in these little towns, coffee shops close at like 3 p.m. And I'm like, that's exactly like when I need coffee. So I just put them in of my properties at this point.
I love the sprinkling in the reviews. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think people really like that. You won't believe how many people book it for the Nespresso maker. Like it's literally like $100 or $200 investment. Yeah, it's that little guy on the right, and people go crazy for it. Like and we supply like the pods, like a starter pack, and people just like go nuts. Like they're just like, and I literally I make it a habit to stay at nice hotels, like 5-star hotels, and like what amenities do they have. And I saw that at one of them, and I was like, I gotta have this, man. Like this is awesome.
Nice. So this is maximizing space. What do you got? Sleeping 8 here?
Yeah, we have those
Or
are queen beds actually at the bottom, so they're pretty comfortable.
actually, 12 is that 10 people you could sleep in there? One, two,
You
three, four,
could,
five,
yeah.
six, seven, eight, nine, 10,
So
11, 12.
I come from an Indian family, and it's very normal for like the kids to get like one large room just filled with bunk beds, which is like basically what I
Nice.
do here. And like so, all the parents can stay in the main house, and the kids can be here. And there's 2 full bathrooms here,
Very
and
cool.
so it's like a perfect little getaway. And then if you don't have that many people, the queen beds are because I usually find like the bunks are just so tight. I'm like, I need some space,
Yeah.
man.
Love it. Love it. So what's the total capacity for this property?
This one I think sleeps about 18, which is a lot for like just a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom property.
Yeah.
Usually I recommend about 12 people stay there, and that's pretty comfortable. But a lot of times we get
Hmm.
so many young kids, like with Airbnb, like if they're under 2, you can just mark however many you want.
Yeah.
And so I have to be like, can't really do that. The other cool part about this is they have it's on 2 acres, so there's tons of parking. So no one ever has to worry about like I have another property where parking's tight. And so I think we
Hmm.
did the right thing with this one. We put in floor plans. Anytime a guest asks us a question, we try to include it in our FAQs. So people
Yeah.
just when they're reading the listing description can go, oh, like okay, that was my question. Because I think sometimes people are just shy to ask. So I think giving them the
Right.
information up front makes it so much easier.
No,
And I
this is
do
awesome.
a ton of graphic work. And again, all of my team does all of this.
No, this is good stuff. So every one of your listings has this kind of format as far as number of
Yeah,
pictures and
we literally have an SOP, and like every time we launch a new listing, they have to go through and do all the SOPs. So like we need like graphic work done, we need the guidebooks done, we need like local attractions, we have like a listing template. So everything I have in my business, I try and create what I call an SOP, and an SOP is really like I
Mhm.
think it's this fancy word that gets thrown around. Like my SOP is me literally turning on Loom video and me just trying to figure things out. I was doing one yesterday. It took me like 10 minutes to figure out how to exit out of this application. I was
Yeah,
like, somebody edit this out. But I'm like it just really is that easy. And I'm like, just watch me do what I do.
very cool. Love it, love it, love it. So, what is on the horizon for Stay in Texas? What's next
Yeah.
for you guys? What do you have
So
in the future?
I'm looking to buy more boutique hotels, especially near national parks. I like to stay under the 30 unit count. So if anybody
Hmm.
has any deals, like please reach out to me. And then the other part of that is I'm looking to manage more units. So we do 24/7 management. We get you listed on all the OTAs. We handle everything top to bottom when we take on hotel management. A lot of the bigger management companies won't take on deals less than like 50 units because they have to be
Hmm.
able to justify putting in an on-site manager. Well, we don't
Yeah,
have that because we're so small and we're
right.
virtual. So I'd love to get more management deals. If anyone has, we use a complete separate PMS. I don't think we've touched on that than we do for STRs.
Right.
It just helps you rank so much better on Google.
Hmm.
And so if anyone has any questions looking to get into boutique hotels, has a boutique hotel they bought, or they bought, 20 cabins and they're like, this will be so easy. And now they're like, oh my gosh, like reach out. I'd love to help.
What's the best way to reach out? Instagram, Facebook? What's your preference?
Yeah, Facebook is easiest for me. I'm literally at this link for Rashmi Bhat official. You can find me on most social media platforms. I'm
Okay.
also a big foodie, so if you guys want to talk about food, let's go.
No, I was going to touch on that because
Yeah.
I grew up in the Caribbean. My wife's from Trinidad. I was born in Guyana, and so we have a huge Indian, curry food
Yeah.
influence. And so, the next time I'm in town, I'd love to come check out the restaurant. That sounds great.
Yes, please come on over. Again, my restaurant's in a vacation town, so come on over. I also do fun videos where I just talk about Indian food and cooking on a completely separate Instagram channel. It's like my fun relaxation project.
Very cool. So
Yeah.
let's finish with if there's one kind of piece of advice that you could give somebody that's just getting started with looking at boutique hotels and wants to kind of grow a business with it, what would you tell them is kind of like one of the most important things they should be looking out for?
consume as much content as you can. There's so much free stuff, including what you're doing right now, Rich, and reach out to these people. It took me 3.5 years to invest in any kind of coaching. And I did invest in coaching last year at the beginning in January of 23. And it took me from 6 units to 50 STR units under management. And then it got me 5 hotels to manage. Like one
awesome.
year, like outgrew all of my 3 years of just me like consuming free content.
Right.
So by all means, like start with the free content, but I think a lot of people are like, oh, like coaching is so expensive, and like it is. I won't disagree with that, but I think it just pays you in so many dividends, and you get to get out of like the day to day, and it's just like skyrocketed my growth. Now the difference in the coaching was me, like I was like, oh. I was always had it, but like to have somebody just guide you and show you like this is the next level. I think it was awesome. It's exactly what you're doing. If you guys are looking to, I mean, Rich, you're such an expert at rehabbing and finding these properties, and getting coaching through you would be awesome. Like it's something we've talked about. But I think that investment was the big differentiator for me.
Yeah, no, well, thanks so much, Rashmi, for joining us this week, and thanks everybody for checking us out. Like I said, I'll put Rashmi's Facebook info in the comments below if anybody wants to reach out. And then, as always, you can reach out to me on Facebook Messenger as well. If, like Rashmi mentioned, if you want to learn how to kind of grow a scalable business and you need some help with that, we can have a quick call and see if the BNB investing program is a good fit for you or not. But Rashmi, thanks again so much. It's been great doing a deep dive. I love doing these because I've known you for many, many years, and there's a lot of stuff that I learned today that we haven't really touched on. So this has been really awesome. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.